Welcome to the Wild Remedies podcast. I'm your host, Krysta, and I'm here to bring you captivating stories from some of the most fascinating people I've connected with on my own journey of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wild Remedies podcast. Today, we are speaking with my friend Leighann Amanda. Leighann is a trauma-enforced ontological and somatic coach and highly trained breathwork facilitator. She helps people create conscious relationships, release traumas, and regulate their nervous systems. So we have all kinds of wild remedies in here today. We're talking about relationships again. I know we just spoke about this on our last episode with Kelsey Grant, which was fabulous. If you haven't listened to it yet, I highly recommend. This has a totally different flavor and all kinds of new wisdom nuggets that are just so important for optimal health and wellness. And we're going to dive into breath work. So this is something that has been absolutely transformative for me. Leighann's stories about breath work are just really inspiring. And there are just so many wisdom nuggets in this episode. So let's dive right into it. And without further ado, let's chat with Leighann. All right. Welcome, Leighann. I am so excited to have you on the Wild Remedies podcast. How are you, girl?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so good and I'm so excited to be here. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Leighann and I were just having a little chat before we got on here, and I was explaining to her how I had a dream about a blue lotus flower and then had the epiphany this morning that I needed to move or at least go for a long period of time to Costa Rica. Apparently everyone's doing this right now.
I'm doing it. It's a trend.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's time to shake up the energy a little bit. Need some new inspiration.
Yeah, traveling always helps me with inspiration for sure.
It does. You were just in Bali, weren't you?
For 4 months.
For 4 months. How was it?
It was all of it. I always say I've been all over the world now, and I always say that every place, whether it's a city or a country, however you look at it, every place has its light and its shadow. And Bali very clearly has a beautiful light about it, and it also has a shadow side. And so I was just very present to all of it at the same time. So it was just like an all of it experience. It was very full for sure.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it looked like you really got, I saw a lot of images about doing breath work and stuff there. So I'm really excited to dive into that in this episode. But I think I'm going to kick this episode off by just asking you for like a 30,000 foot view of your journey so far. Like, I know that you've been through a lot over the years. And so I just kind of wanted to know about like some of your experiences that have brought you to the work that you're doing today.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So how do I answer this question? Yeah. Well, I think you kind of alluded to it that I've been through a lot, and that definitely has shaped most of what I'm doing right now. And a lot of what I'm doing right now has to do with healing, it has to do with understanding trauma, it has to do with, whether it's mental or somatic, whatever it is, it's about being able to heal. And so, whether it was getting hit by a car and like having to sort of like relearn how to walk properly, or losing my fiance in Thailand, or, like being assaulted multiple times, I have been through the ringer. But each time I have learned something about how my mind and my heart and my body and my spirit work. And I just dedicated my life to being able to understand all of the different ways we can heal, right? Like coaching can be a very top down experience, but what's the bottom up like? And what's the spiritual like? How can I incorporate all of these different modalities so that I can meet people where they're at in, like creating their conscious relationships from a holistic perspective, or releasing their traumas somatically, not just emotionally or mentally, right? Mm-hmm. So I would sum it up with that. Life has gifted me with many learning opportunities and a lot of pain. And I think the thing that I am always striving for is, how can I turn this into gold? Not just like spiritual bypassing this, like, what's the gift? But like, how can I see this for what it is and get, that it sucks, but also how can I use this to contribute? How can I use this to serve? And how can I use this to learn about what life is? And really, it's just this fullness. And how can we just keep being with that and keep living and creating in tune with that? Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. And it's like, It's really timely for me right now. I was just introduced to the gene keys. Have
Oh,
you have you looked into the gene keys at all?
I mean, when I used to work at a naturopathic clinic and there was like talk about the gene keys a lot, but I never really got into it.
Yeah, so I mean, I've heard about it before, and I was at actually this breathwork workshop about a week ago, and I ran into this doctor there who I'm going to have on the podcast. He's a really, really interesting guy. He's into like traditional Chinese medicine and homeopathy and all of these things.
Yes.
And he started talking about the gene keys, and I just told him a little bit about myself. I think he's also quite intuitive, but he was like talked about like this 47th gene key. And he's like, "Yeah, like this definitely got to be you, right?" And so it's a thing that you can do at home where you put in your birthday similar to like astrology or human design, and then it comes up with a profile. And right at the top was this 47th gene key, and I was like, "Oh shit, this guy he knows his stuff."
Nice.
And it's very much about having a lot of suffering in your life, right? So for me, it was a lot of health issues.
Mm.
And it also pairs with this other number. I don't know, like I'm totally butchering this. I need to learn a lot more about it. But exactly what you just spoke about is like, when you're gifted with these kind of karmic things that come into your life that feel really, really difficult, if you can learn to navigate them the way that you're explaining, where you're getting the gold from it and you're transforming and transfiguring them and really creating a richness of life through that process and just digging into the suffering, right? Like as uncomfortable as shit as it is, that is kind of the path forward and that really beautiful things can come from that. And
Yeah.
in this case, it looks like now you have all of this wisdom that you're able to share with people, even though it was like totally gnarly for you at the time, but that's kind of like your superpower now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, a really underrated skill that we forget we are gifted when we go through painful or traumatic events is the ability to learn how to space hold at a deeper capacity. And
Mm.
when you go through a flavor of trauma or a flavor of hurt or a flavor of suffering, you get to be, there's an opportunity, at least. We don't always do this, but there's an opportunity to get intimate with it in a way that we can hold space for others when they are going through that. And I just, I think space holding is one of those ancient sacred skills that is a human gift that is coming back on the scene, that is more, common, that is really like quite a tradition from however long ago, that for a while there got lost, or maybe when like mental health had a bunch of stigmas around it, it took a back seat, or yeah. But I think that, yeah, space holding is one of the gifts of going through what we've gone through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you call it space holding and not holding space. It just gives it like a nice little flavor to it. Okay, well, that was so beautiful. Thank you for that share. I'm still curious though to dig into like what exactly is a trauma-informed ontological and somatic coach. I think somatic we're talking about like throughout the body, but I've never heard of ontological before. What does that mean?
Okay, so ontology is the study of beingness. Okay, so often in life, humans are taking action or they're doing without consciously being. So let's see, ontological coaching isn't first focusing on what do you need to do, because arguably we all know what we need to do to create what we want. Like often the actions aren't the thing. Like, how to be healthy. You can eat broccoli and run. Everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's some like level of knowledge that we all already have, but who we're being about things is often the thing that's missing. That we don't see what's in our blind spot about the way that we show up in the world and how that dictates everything, or maybe how um things that have happened to us are dictating who we're being without us realizing, and then that impacts how we do life. For example, like I was, let's go back to university, because this is right when I started with ontological study. When I was in university, I was doing all the right things. I had been an honor roll student all my life. I had been an athlete all my life. I was the perfect kid. I never, like I didn't even drink until it was legal. I didn't party. I was like this pure, straight and narrow gal. And yet I was tough. I was burnt out. I was needy. And I had this like, yeah, this really tough exterior that just really hungered for love. And love was a very external phenomenon for me. And that beingness colored everything. Like, you can imagine, like, when you meet somebody like that, like, you meet the tough exterior person, you're like, "Oh, I might feel uneasy," or "I don't know if I can approach this person," or "I don't know if I want to be friends with this person." You meet the needy person, you're like, "Stay away from me," right? Like, the beingness of people impacts you and it colors your entire life. And then when I discovered ontological coaching, I got coached and then I got trained. I started realizing how every single event that happened in my life got interpreted by my brain in such a way that I started to be different adaptive ways and coping mechanisms that really weren't serving me, AKA tough, needy girl. So then I had to look at what are the interpretations that I'm wearing and how can I be who I am versus who I wound up being. Because I wound up being some way based on these things and the interpretation I had of these things. But who am I actually? And so I actually am a pretty fun, easygoing, like just playful human being. And I would never have gotten to discover that had I not shone a light on all of these different things that I interpreted XYZ way. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. Well, and what an interesting thing to kind of fall into it. Like, how old were you at this point?
I was 20. I became a yoga teacher at 19, and then that got me into sort of like this like I was studying Eastern religions and psychology in
Mhm.
university.
As one does at the age of 19. I know that's what I was doing. Not at all like binge drinking and dancing on the top of
Right?
bars and shit.
Yeah. I like still get kind of confused about like different drinks. People are like, "Oh yeah, like oh gin and vodka this." And I'm like, "Which one is which?" I don't actually know. Like it's pretty funny, but
That's great.
um I got into it because I just happened to meet somebody. It turns out that I just happened to meet some really cool people that were into this work. And a guy I went on a date with, actually, he had the balls to call me out on something. And it wasn't like, "Hey, you're a shitty person. Don't do this." It was like, "You know what you're doing." It was like, "Hey, you know that you're lacking compassion in this area. What's up with that?" And he was just very like, "I see you." And being seen in such a way that I was being called up, not necessarily being judged, that helped me open to the possibility that maybe who I was being wasn't necessarily me. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I was very, very lucky to go on that date at like 19, 20. Yeah.
No kidding. Wow, what a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it was for sure.
I love that. Okay, and so we have all of this amazing experience, and now we're focusing on breath work a little bit here. So when did this kind of start to come into your practice?
Right. So first, I just realized I only answered part of your question because you asked, what is a trauma informed
Oh,
ontological
yes.
and somatic
Yes.
coach?
Yes.
So, somatics and trauma informed, those kind of go together. So, I became trauma informed through training, understanding trauma and somatics. And basically, people who do like a full on 3-year training who want to become somatic experiencing practitioners, those are the people who solely are trauma centered, helping like fully, working solely with the body on what the body is holding. And I'm not going to do it justice, but essentially it's like there isn't any sort of like cognitive aspect to it. It's like all the body talking and then working with the body. But when I did my trauma training, we were taught how to read stress responses and cues from the body and facial expressions. And that goes into the polyvagal theory, which is essentially how do we read, facial expressions and body language in a way that we understand stress responses, which I think is really important for coaches because so
No
often
kidding.
coaches talk about really sensitive things with their clients and they might even like activate their client and not know it or not know how to lead them out of it. So having that understanding, I think, is finally like catching some more momentum and more people are gaining that desire to do that training. And then the somatic work just goes along with that. But breath work, you know, when my fiance died almost 5 years ago now, it's going to be 5 years in a month and a half ish.
Wow.
Um, And when he died, I just went looking for every single healing modality that I could. And first, there was obviously talk therapy and like cognitive behavioral therapy, like all mind. And then there was, EMDR, which was like talking and like some physical action. And then there was tapping, which was like verbal and physical. And then, so it kind of went from like all mind to mind and movement. And then I started dance therapy. That blew everything out of the water. And then and then I kept going. And I just kept going with all of these different healing modalities until finally I met somebody who introduced me to breathwork, and most specifically, conscious connected breath, otherwise known now as facilitated breath repatterning. And what made this unique was that as a yoga teacher, I've been doing yoga since I was 14. I've been teaching yoga for however long. And the breath that we are used to in yoga, pranayama, is all controlled breath, which there's a beauty to that. And I will always love it. But conscious connected breath, or FBR, is about balancing the the inhale and the exhale full of vitality and total relaxation. And I don't know any yogic breath where there is total relaxation.
Right.
So the specific style of breath is unparalleled for trauma release that I've ever experienced. And when I started to see what I was releasing in sessions of FBR, I was like, okay, there's something to this. I really believe in this. And when I really, really believe in something, I usually want to teach it. So I want to be able to know how to give it back. So then I was lucky enough to live in a part of the world where FBR training is available, and was invited down to another training in Bali. That's why I was there for 4 months, just continuing to branch onto those skills and see in my own journey how I keep letting go of these layers and noticing these things I'm holding in my body that keep getting released or start talking to me, and be able to now give that to the other people. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's so amazing. I swear you are like the super coach. Like you
What does
just
that
have
mean?
I just you just have so many amazing skills and you've been doing it for so long. There's just a lot that goes on in the coaching industry and I feel like you have such high integrity. Like the work that you do is just it's so detailed and the way that you can speak to others, I think is just so absolutely beautiful. Leighann and I worked together a couple of years ago on her website actually, and you wrote all of your copy, didn't you? And I remember yeah, you wrote most of it, and it was so beautiful, like, just the way that you're able to connect and, like, really dig into people's pain points, like, you really understand what people need in order to be seen, and that's just such a beautiful quality. I just absolutely love it.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Mhm. So, talking about breath work a little bit more, I'm wondering what kind of so for me, it's been really, really potent. Like, I haven't done it a whole lot, but every time I do it, it's like it's got to be a longer session for sure. And I really find it powerful in a group setting because it can be kind of tough, right? Like, I find I always kind of come up against a bit of a wall. I'll usually get some emotion that starts to arise, sometimes frustration, anger that usually ends up transforming into some sort of like ugly crying situation. Like I full on ugly cry almost every single time I do breath work, which for the first time was extremely surprising to me. I didn't think that was something that was going to happen. So I really feel the power in that.
Mm.
What have you kind of experienced in yourself, like releasing, doing this work?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for sharing part of your experience, because I can really identify with you, and let me know if this resonates, because I could be getting this wrong. But as you and I, pretty, powerful, independent women who we hold our own, to fully like collapse in a breath journey, even be like surrounded by people too, and to
Yeah.
fully like surrender to whatever needs to be released. That's a pretty powerful thing, because for so long I would not be seen emoting.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it's
um
tough for me too.
so first of all, thank you for letting yourself do that. And I'm sure that the other powerful women in your circle, they notice and they're like, okay, maybe I get to do this too. So yeah. What I've noticed in my journey is that, you know, I have so many different layers of events that have just accumulated in this body of mine, this organism. And some of them are familial, some of them are love related, some of them are health related. I when I was maybe in my early 20s, I had a procedure done on my pelvis and also had been through different assaults. And something that I started to notice when I started FBR was I was barely breathing into my pelvis. I was barely breathing into my belly. And, for the first 10 years that I was a yogi, I could breathe into my belly, no problem. But then as soon as things started to happen, things were accumulating in this area. And my body started to tell itself, don't breathe there. We don't want to feel anything there anymore. And for me to all of a sudden come into my pelvis, come into my roots, right? Like the root of the pelvis as well, and like into the sacrum and just different parts of the pelvis that I realized you could breathe into. Right? Like I started feeling my legs and my feet differently. I started realizing that there was a whole level of sensation that I was so terrified of in my pelvis because of how much pain I'd felt there, that not only did I get to cycle through that pain and release it, it took more than once, by the way. It took many journeys to release all the different layers, and I'm sure I'm still releasing them. But um, to come back into sensation in this area in a different way has been quite emotional, as you can
Mhm.
imagine.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's also been a deeper honoring of this area too, and like what this area needs. I also, have worked through many layers of grief, like there was the loss of my partner, but also the trauma of being the one to find him, right? Like there are different visual things that I re-experienced, or different levels of grief that grief comes in layers and waves, right? Like different layers of grief that I still needed to feel and to express. Right after my partner passed, I actually had to take care of a lot of other people and had to handle a lot of logistics, and was even alone in Thailand handling his body,
Oh my
and
God.
his the managings of like what was going to happen with the estate, right? And that had me like have to numb my grief for quite
Mhm.
a while. And then I had to go back and revisit a lot of those moments.
Mhm.
And so I had perhaps, revisited some of them mentally, but physically, damn, like that's a whole other thing. Like moments before James died, he was really nervous, he was meditating, and I just like really wanted to I made a bid for connection, and I asked him for a hug, and he said, "Not right now. I need space." And then he died like 2 minutes later. So imagine the imprint on my body of asking for a hug, not getting it, and then all of a sudden, the love of my life is gone forever, right? Like my body had a hangover from that, right?
Mm,
So
kidding.
being able to revisit these things and sort of feel them to the depth they needed to be felt, uh, or even yeah, like other different physical ailments that my body was holding too. It has been surreal being able to be very present to my own healing journey and not have to be done or cooked or fixed or perfect in
Yeah.
order to serve others. Like I'm
Mhm.
still very much peeling back the layers, and yeah, just humbly noticing where else I need to look and feel while
Yeah.
still, yeah, while still, space holding.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is such a powerful story and journey. And yeah, yeah, you have been through so much, girl, and it's yeah, amazing to see what you've been able to transform with all of these healing modalities and just by being a powerful woman, right? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's inspiring me now. It's like, "Oh my god, I need to be doing breath work now," and, one thing that I really admire about you and, when I, see you on social media and things like that, like, you seem to be very consistent with this is social media, right? But, like, as a coach, I know you're helping people with relationships and things like that too, but you kinda do all forms of life coaching too. So, like, when people are feeling like they're out of alignment and lots of different areas of their life, you can help support them with that, right?
Mhm.
Think that's part of it. Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, you and I should have a little conversation about that afterwards 'cause I just have, like, this personality where this is just kind of how I've always been, where I have all these really great intentions. I go 0 to 100. This might be like a manifesting generator thing too, but it's like I pick stuff
Mhm.
up and I put it down all the time. And so
Mm.
consistency can be a little bit tough, but yeah, it feels like I don't know, that's just something that I really admire. It seems like that's what you exude a little bit, and yeah, it's a lot of quality.
Exuding wait, sorry, what is the thing I'm exuding?
Well, like the consistency, right? Like, I just see a lot of, like, vitality and wellness and stuff, and, like, yeah, I don't know. I just that seems like the vibe a little bit to me.
Gotcha. I mean, vitality and wellness are definitely a theme, but I've been through some stuff and had some, like, I don't think anybody is perfect and consistent
Yeah.
all the time. I mean, like, I think the thing that I'm most prioritizing is attunement. So for me, if I go through a time in my life where like some shit has just gone down and I'm not going to be able to stick to my like every morning 7 a.m. workout and my like perfect diet, I'll notice what my body's asking for and I will be like, "Okay, cool. Like, how long do you think we're gonna be doing this?" Like, I remember in Bali, like, I went through something really tough, really horrible, and my body didn't eat for 5 days. I just didn't wanna eat, and I had the bare minimum, but, like, somebody was like, "Oh my god, are you okay? Like, no, you should really eat something. You should really eat something." And I was like, "My body's just doing what she needs to do. I'm gonna swing back. I'm gonna swing back. It's gonna be okay." And then after 5 days, sure enough, my body was like, "Cool, okay, I'm ready to eat now." I was like, "Yeah." But just being able to, like, listen and, like, nobody would suggest to just stop eating for 5 days. And then I swung in the other direction and, like, ate I had this, like, huge craving for, like, granola all the time. And, like, Mean Girls, Regina George, like, somebody tells her that they're, like, these bars. She, like, eats these bars and she thinks they're for losing weight, and they're just, like, packed with, like, all of this fat. She's, like, gaining weight. Like, basically, I Regina Georged myself. Was, like, just eating this, like, super fatty granola for, like, a month, and I was like, "My body is, like, for some reason, it's just like, 'Hey, we need this.'" And I was, like, listening carefully for the day that my body was like, "Cool, we're done. We're done." And like, sometimes you just have to, like, listen, and some things were consistent. Like, my exercise was pretty consistent, but my diet just went, like, whoop,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I think attunement is more the word that I would use rather than consistent. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. There's some
Yeah.
sort of consistency available in attunement, I think. I think.
Mhm. Yeah, it's tough, and I feel like for women too, because we're so cyclic, we're cyclical, right? So it's like I notice that I fluctuate quite a bit throughout the month, right? And even though I want to be more consistent with some things, it's like, well, my energy patterns just really do fluctuate a lot, and I'm getting to a place where I'm just honoring that, right? So, if I go through a period where my energy's low, I'm craving a lot of carbs, whatever it is, it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to do that thing. And then I know in a week it's going to be different again.
Mhm.
And yeah, just honoring that. And I love the idea of listening to your body. That's a really big practice that I've been focusing on in probably the past 6 months. And it really is a game changer, and I think it's something that's valuable for a lot of folks, right? There's a lot of wisdom in our body that we generally ignore.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
big time.
yeah, if we take the time to listen to what we actually need and just give ourselves that, there's a lot more grace there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a balance, like there's some, science we could bring into it. Like, for example, like, oh, if you eat more of this, sometimes that thing will stay in your gut and tell your body that it craves more of that. And oh, it's not just about like sometimes attunement is valuable and sometimes there is a scientific reason for why these whatever. Like science can be applied, but at the same time, like there is something to learning to just listen without having to externally search. And I think that, I believe that maybe all genders have a journey about that to go on, but women in particular, I believe. I mean, some people might disagree, but I think that part of becoming a woman is like learning how to say no to the external information we're given because we feel something inside first. And we can listen to what's inside and trust that that's worth listening to. I really do think that that is a huge part of like a rite of passage into womanhood. And that's what I've experienced. So, I mean, that's really all I can speak from. But I don't
Mhm. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Like, we are bombarded by so much information, right? And the more feminine way of doing things that we've kind of lost over, I don't know, I guess the last few centuries really is just learning to turn within and just listen to our intuition and our own guidance.
Yeah, I think as you're speaking, I'm seeing partly why I love conscious connected breath so much is because you are literally being with nothing but your feelings and your memories and your thoughts and your breath. And you're trying to stay as present with your breath as you can, but inevitably all of these other things bubble to the surface and you have nowhere to go. And so, whether that's like a truth that you've been avoiding, or a piece of advice that you haven't been listening to that you have for yourself, or maybe there's like an instinct that really like wants to come through or be listened to, or a memory that really wants to be completed and released. I think breathwork is a really beautiful tool for tuning into that too. And the conscious connected breath or FBR, that modality in particular, so much of that style of breath is surrender and like letting go. And I mean, it takes surrender to attune.
And with this style of breath work, like, is it, I mean, like, there's lots of different styles that are out there now. You kind of hear about like Wim Hof and holotropic and all of those different styles. Is there something different with this style?
Yes. So every single other style of breath work that I know, whether it's some type of pranayama or Wim Hof or whatever, all of them are controlled breath. And that's the like I really want to make sure that people know that I'm not biased. Like there are certain types of controlled breath that I love. Like there is a time and a place for Kapalabhati breathing, right? Like it's great. And the thing that is the most different with FBR is that you are in the constant balance of inhaling with full vitality and exhaling with utter and complete surrender. And having that duality moment to moment, breath to breath is allowing you to embody yin and yang every second. And you are noticing where like the quality of how you inhale life and how you exhale life are done. And so there's a lot that gets revealed about you and your beliefs and how you live through the way you breathe. Because this modality, the other thing about this modality is that it really does show, it really just does say a lot when we look at a breath pattern, right? Like I was trained to read breath patterns and not know for sure because we can't really ever fully know for sure or play God, but we can look at a breath pattern and go, okay, that's that breath pattern, which is probably caused by X, Y, or Z. And so we can draw an educated conclusion on what that person must have gone through in the past or how that's impacting them now. And we get to learn more and more by asking them, like non intrusively, but like maybe over time, whether it's like asking questions or maybe what they share, we get to learn what is the signature of that breath and what happened to them that created that breath pattern and how can we correct perhaps layers of maladaptive breath patterns that are showing up so that they can breathe in a more easeful, more free way. And that's all just being able to read the breath, which will always be a skill I will be refining forever. Um, but it is really cool when you do start to see patterns and themes. Yeah, it's like being able to watch somebody breathe and um, notice themes and commonalities and um, show them ways to create more ease in their own body. Like one of the things I realized is that The way that we breathe actually takes up a lot of energy, but it doesn't have to. Like a lot of us are making our lives harder simply by the energetic output we are using by breathing in a more difficult way than we need to.
Interesting.
Right. So some of us are over breathing. Some of us are in like hyperventilation or hypoventilation. Some of us are creating other different reactions in the body that are impacting, blood chemistry and other things that are impacting our mood or impacting our energy levels. So yeah, it's interesting. Like we can create a lot more ease and energy flow just by altering the way that we breathe.
Yeah. I mean, I know for myself, if I'm ever, struggling with anxiety or some hard feelings that are coming up, I notice it in my breath, right? There's always like this shallowness that's happening. And I'm like, ooh, girl, you
Oh, yeah, nice.
yeah. And just even a shift like that and just focusing on the breath. I've struggled with anxiety, depression, all of these things in my life previously. And really coming to the breath is something that makes such a huge impact. Even through like plant medicine journeys, things that are, very challenging and you've got a lot of stuff going on and you feel, some like anxiety and emotions and things that are coming up, just like always going back to the breath can just kind of, it can get you through anything, really.
That's kind of the point, is
Yeah.
that part of why I chose breathwork is because it's the one thing you always have available. Always, it's the one thing that is always with you.
Yep.
And like it's the ultimate anchor. It's the
Yeah.
ultimate tool. It's the ultimate thing to come back to. And you always have it and it's yours.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a fail safe. And I love fail safe because I'm a control freak. So like yes. But yeah, I mean it's the easiest, most accessible way to alter how you feel for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what a great tip. I mean, like, this just brought me back to a moment that I was having a couple of years ago, where I'd been through like a particularly gnarly heartbreak situation. And it had just brought up a ton of trauma. So I had a shit ton of anxiety. Like, my body was just in constant fight or flight.
Yeah.
Literally nothing I did was helping. Like, it was brutal. And so I would just I would essentially just have random panic attacks at very inconvenient times.
Wow.
And I was in Berlin, I think at the time, and I was in a cab going to an airport and this feeling starts to creep up, right? And I'm just like, okay, breathe, just breathe through it, just breathe through it. And it always gets you through those uncomfortable periods. So it really is like you can do it anywhere, which is fabulous.
Yeah. You can do it anywhere. From home, in public, in taxi, anywhere.
Anywhere you can have a breakdown, you can breathe.
Totally. That's the new slogan.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to take a little shift now and I'd like to chat a bit about conscious relationships. So, I love that on your website, one of your goals is to make conscious relationships commonplace.
Mhm.
Absolutely amazing goal. I'd, I'd love to hear what your definition of conscious relationship is. I want to take a quick second to let you guys know about the other side of Wild Remedies, our incredible wellness potions. We recently launched a collection of functional Magick lattes crafted with love and intention to help you look and feel your best. We currently have 3 delicious products to nourish you from the inside out. Strawberry Rose is our beauty potion, crafted with ceramicides and vitamin C to help hydrate and plump your skin from within. Spiced Chocolate is our immunity blend, featuring wild Siberian chaga mushroom with a sophisticated spicy twist to support your immune system. And finally, Almond Lavender Dream, a literal chill pill in a cup, with potent relaxation herbs and delicate notes of amaretto and vanilla to help you unwind. At Wild Remedies, our goal is to bring you the best of nature for the betterment of humanity.
Totally. Yeah. So conscious relationships, well, let me describe first what they're not.
Okay.
Conscious relationships are not perfect relationships, and they're not stress-free relationships. So, conscious relationships are relationships where you are bringing awareness and willingness to see and own all of you and how that impacts the relationship. So, an unconscious relationship, for example, is one where, how I was talking in the beginning about like how I wound up being, right? Like I was that tough girl who was needy. Let's say I like hadn't gone through any self-awareness and I was still that tough yet needy girl and I just did relationships that way. That would cause a lot of unconscious relationships. I would not know how to own or heal or bring awareness to any of who I was being. And that would just continue to impact relationships without my power or my knowledge. And so, by me understanding myself, working through things, healing things, that allows me to have the power and say over how I show up in a relationship. And that allows me to consciously, moment by moment, choose how I want to show up. Like relationships can be conscious and still have breakdowns and still have moments of emotional drunkenness, I call it. But yeah, the goal is emotional sobriety. But, to be able to say, I know this about myself. I've been through XYZ kind of pain that sometimes impacts how I relate to my romantic partners. How can I go in owning that about myself? And usually choosing not that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I won't be able to, but usually I'm choosing not that, and I'm choosing some other way that I really wanna be instead.
Yeah.
That's how I would define conscious relationship, and that's when both of you are doing it. You can't just have a conscious relationship where one of you is like, "I'm taking into account my wounds and how that impacts you," and the other person's like, "Great, thanks. Let me ride that wave,
Yep.
benefit from it."
Mhm.
Right?
Yep.
So, people are responsible.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I love that you do work with both men and women, right? So I think that's really important. I know you do work with couples as well.
Mhm.
What are kind of like the different things that you see or that you focus on with women compared to with men in your coaching?
One of the first things that I'll say about that is that they have a lot more differences, or sorry, they have a lot more similarities than differences in a lot of ways that I wasn't expecting, originally when I was like a baby in this industry. And I think it's really important to remember that in a lot of ways, no matter what gender you want to be loved, you want to be enough, you want to be seen, you want to be heard, you want to belong. And so when we remember this about everyone, we can sort of remember the innocence of each human being and bring that humbly into interactions with anybody of any gender. And I think that, obviously there has been an emphasis in my work at some points about, masculine and feminine energy, which I like to call consciousness and sensation now because masculine, feminine, those words have a bit of like a oppressive history to them, but we all have those energies, right? Yeah, we all want the same things based on the body that we have or the experiences that we have. We maybe lean towards this or lean towards that. But I think the success starts when we relate to each other as human to human rather than creating so much difference. There is a lot of fun in looking at the polarities between genders, right? Like, talking about masculine, feminine energy, for me, as a woman who has usually heterosexual relationships, that was huge. Like that, when I first understood how I was emasculating my partners and how my partners were like de-goddessing me and like all of the different ways that we do these things to each other when we don't understand polarity, that was huge. But that also came with the understanding and willingness to always like come back to wholeness, if that makes sense. The wholeness, we carry both of those energies. I might be getting a little off topic and rambly. Am I
No,
still
it's great. I love it.
okay?
I love where it's going. Yeah, no, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I do notice that the more I study polarity, I do find a lot of people relate to it. I've been interviewing people of different sexual orientations and asking them, like how does this land for you? How does this framework land for you? And for some people, like even if they're non-binary, they're like, yeah, this really helps me organize certain things about myself and how I understand myself. And for some people, like a few of my gay and lesbian friends are like, no, I hate this. So it's like, it doesn't land with everybody, but I find that yeah, like there's enough of a resonance with the like masculine feminine conversation that definitely lands. Like men who identify mostly as masculine, there's like a certain different experience that needs to be catered to women who identify predominantly as feminine, there's a specific experience that they have too, even though we all have both.
Yeah.
So, like whether you're predisposed more to like orienting yourself around love versus freedom or like what have you, we all still have all of it. So in Tantra, there is this beautiful lens. Usually when you hear or talk about Tantra, they think about red Tantra right away, which is like the pleasing each other and exploring sexuality together. And they don't often start with white Tantra, which is like sexual mastery of your own sexual energy and your own life force. But one of the other parts of Tantra that doesn't really get talked about is that it's all about accepting the allness of a human being, the beauty, the um, how funny they are, how smart they are, but also the shame they carry and the guilt they've experienced or the trauma they have. Whatever it is about them that makes them all of who they are is worth accepting and seeing and loving. And that's part of Tantra too. And that isn't gender specific. So,
Mm, that's beautiful.
mm,
I love that. Well, a question that's kind of coming up for me is like what is something that like maybe your coaching has done for a client that you didn't expect?
hmm,
Like
okay.
have you ever like been surprised by some of the transformations that, people have had when working with you?
Hmm. That's an interesting question because usually when I start working with somebody, I have a very strong prediction of what's going to happen. Like
Okay.
I don't decide like here's my agenda, here's where we're going. I always leave it open-ended to like what they say they want, but I always get like a sense of like I think this is kind of where we're going and how this is going to happen. Most predictable thing that's ever happened is like people getting married. That's like the most predictable thing when they're like, I want to meet the love of my life, I want to get married, and then they get married, and then it's like, boom, okay, easy. But some cool things that have happened are, maybe this is also very predictable, but people stop relying on external sources for love. Uh, here's one people change their voice. So I've actually, in many cases, worked with people where one of their survival mechanisms is they alter their voice. And it comes from an early people pleasing um, strategy. And I've found mostly with women where
Okay.
they have a higher pitched voice or a sweeter voice than their actual natural voice. And then by the end of our work together, their voice has dropped an octave or two. Um,
Interesting.
yes. So that is, and that's something that, as a singer, I also pay attention to those things. So I'm just like, I'm like, and have even pointed out to different clients, like, you have two voices, right? It's like, whatever do you mean? And,
That's not
uh,
how real people talk.
just like breathe, just like let
Yeah.
let your butt unclench. Like it's okay. But you know what? It's interesting because every single coping tactic that we have is rooted in something that's really quite understandable or like
Mhm.
something really scary or really, like there's like we all just go through hard stuff and then we make these
Yeah.
coping strategies and they're all understandable to some
Yeah.
extent. Um, but yeah, the voicing is definitely something I didn't foresee until I later started noticing a trend. And yeah, I think, but a lot of the outcomes of my work, I would assume they're predictable.
Okay.
So I'm
Okay.
also like, do you have any like other specific questions about like the results?
Well, I mean, no, nothing specific about results, but I wanted to talk about so you mentioned like one of the results that you can get from for your clients is a partner, right?
Mhm.
So you help people with dating and all of these things, which is, wildly helpful in this day and age, in my opinion. And I saw one of your offerings is this amazing freebie that everybody needs to go and download, but your 21st-ish date questions.
Yes,
And we were
ma'am.
chatting about this a little bit before we jumped on, and you're telling me that they're actually quite bold and spicy. So I want to know a little bit more about this and why you decided to make them like that and maybe get a little taste of a couple of these questions.
Yeah, so here's the thing, like, I just I just believe that we should be able to be really honest with ourselves and other people about what we want and, like, not waste anybody's time. Like, I think I've always been really close to the fact that we don't know how much time we have.
Yeah.
Maybe in, like, a bit of an obsessive way, like, I don't know if it's always been beneficial, but, especially after James died, I'm like, "Great, well, like, if I have 20 minutes left, like, how are these 4 minutes gonna be spent? How are those" like, it just sometimes I just think about, like, "Okay, my time is my biggest currency, it's my biggest gift," and so time really impacts my offerings, the way I coach, and the way I see love and dating. So I created these 20 first-ish date questions because you don't have to ask them on the first date. But I think it's great to ask these questions as you're in the beginning stages of getting to know somebody because you want to get to know that person right away to see how they click. Like going based off of chemistry or this person makes me laugh, it's just not it's just not doing it. It's just not doing it. We still have really high divorce rates. We still have people realizing much later that they could have done a lot more to get to know that person before choosing to spend the rest of their lives with them. And so I thought, okay, great. Well, I how can I help with making more informed choices about who we choose and how to get to know people? So, like one of the first questions I start off with is like, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Like, that's not quite like bold, but it's like, hey, like, what the fuck animates your body? What animates your spirit? What actually is the reason you get up?
Yep.
And like, can I align with supporting that? Like, I want to know if the reason why somebody gets up is because they really care about their family and they want to support their family, or they really want to experience freedom and like financial freedom and freedom to do with whatever they want. I want to know if somebody cares predominantly about like money and status. Like these are all good things to know about somebody, right? And
Totally.
like, is it the same as you or not? Or maybe it's not the same, but like you have same flavors about like what you're committed to. Or yeah, I mean, like, it's interesting. I recently, right before I launched this offering, I added in a question about empathy. And this is one of my favorite short questions in it because you need to know what somebody's relationship to empathy is. It is actually one of the most underrated skills in relationship. It is not something you're born with, it's a skill. Women are more likely to be socialized to be empathetic, but it's actually a skill that you can learn and develop. It's not something that you either have or you don't have. And I started noticing a theme in my career and throughout my life where like different people had expressed that empathy is kind of like this afterthought or this irrelevant skill. And I thought, how could this possibly be? And so I had to add that in there because to be empathetic is to witness and be with somebody's pain. And life is beauty and pain. That's all it is. It's beauty and pain. And so
Literally. Yeah.
and so literally we are in dating, we are constantly being with the beauty that people present us, but can they be with the pain? And so that to me is like we're really honoring and talking about like, hey, let's talk about the other thing, which is that like life sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, who are you gonna be about that? You know?
Mhm.
So that was a really important question that I don't think anybody really directly addresses. Like, what's your relationship to empathy? Like, you don't have to ask it that way. But I mean, like, even listening through the filter of like, how does this person respond when I express XYZ?
For sure. Yeah. I love that.
There are much spicier ones, but they're just going to take too long and just, you have to just go download it. That's
Just
what you
go
have to
download it. It's free. Just go download it, people.
It's free. Yeah.
Let's talk about more of the things that you're offering. So we have the Art of Filtration Masterclass. What's that all about?
So the Art of Filtration Masterclass is you can either do it without doing the 21st-ish date questions, or you can do the date questions and then do this. Essentially, the Art of Filtration is what I call the skill. It's the skill of discernment. So the Art of Filtration is learning how to filter people through, what it is that you are basing off of. Like, this is getting too wordy. Who should you date? Who should you not date? Like, how do you decide? And in today's day and age, we have so many options. And I don't know if you've ever read the book Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari, but he's basically comparing, dating in the olden days, how we had like that person who lives 2 doors down from us and that person who lives doors down from us. And those are our options for who we're going to marry. To now, the fact that technology has made the whole world accessible to us, we have so many options. We don't know who to be with.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is all about how to understand how to best understand people and like understand yourself and what you want and being able to, what I say, run people through your filter, which is really just practicing really refined discernment, owning your standards. And I think I was saying to you earlier, like letting yourself be picky in a way that has integrity, not in like a neurotic random way, but in a very like an intentional way, like bringing a lot of intention to, I was just watching Indian matchmaking. Have you seen that show?
No, what is this?
Okay, girl. So there is this show on Netflix and it's all about arranged marriages. And there's this woman. So is a professional Indian matchmaker and she, brings couples together, whether they're in India or they're in the States. And it's all about this process of how they're like choosing their partners. And it was very similar to how, obviously there are various like Hindu cultures throughout the show, or like Punjabi as well. But it also matched up to just any ethnicity of client that I have, which is like, okay, they have to be this height, they have to be funny, and they have to dress well. And like every single thing that they list off. Oh, and like usually on the list on the show is something like close with family, is a doctor, is an engineer, whatever. And so like I also noticed that we really suck at choosing what's important for our partners, like what
Yeah.
traits our partners have. And there's a valiant effort to like create security through caring about certain things, but we also fail when it comes to choosing some other really important qualities that we're missing. And so the Art of Filtration Masterclass is about understanding those other qualities that we may not be thinking of when choosing our partners.
Things maybe like integrity or like how you want to feel when you're with somebody.
Yeah, no, yeah, like specifically integrity is a great one. I'm pretty sure mine that's in there big time, as well as like your relationship to money versus how much money you have or how much money you make. What's your relationship to money? What's your relationship to stress? Do you numb and dissociate or do you self-regulate? Like how do you handle stress? Or like there are different like all of those things.
Ooh, I love that one. I don't think that one's on my list. I've got quite a list myself. And, I've gone through some work and have adjusted things where it is very much less like the initial things that you were talking about and more on, more quality type things on that list now. But that's a really good one. I've never thought about that. That's yeah,
Yeah, how a partner handles stress is actually like in my opinion one of the most important things about them. So it's in
totally. Yeah. Okay. Add add to list.
there.
So how else can people connect with you, work with you, all of the things?
Yeah, you can contact me through my website or through my Instagram. Instagram is where I'm the fastest. I am not running any groups right now. Usually I run group programs, but you can work with me one-on-one or with your partner in a deep solo mentorship that or, the masterclass. Those are the options. Those are
I
the
love it.
options right now.
I love
Yeah,
it. And go download those 20-ish questions for anybody who's single right now because there's gonna be some good ones in there.
for sure. For sure. If not to just expand your awareness of what you should be like paying attention to about people. Um,
100%.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much of your heart and your expertise today on this episode. I know I learned a lot, and I think a lot of other people probably got some really amazing wisdom nuggets from you today. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. And, just like sister to sister, I really admire you too. And I feel like we're both watching each other from our respective corners, being like, yeah, just like cheering each other on, nodding like "Love this woman." So
Oh, thanks, girl. Thanks so much for sharing your time and energy with us today. We'd love to hear your feedback on how our podcast has impacted your life and are also open to suggestions for new and interesting topics. Please leave your comments with a quick review to help us grow this magical community of wellness warriors and light workers. Every month, we select one lucky reviewer to win our big Magick box containing all 3 of our beautiful Magick lattes. To connect with us further, check us out on Instagram at wild_remedies. Thank you again, and see you at the next episode.